Hello, today we are going to be talking about young adults and domestic violence in emerging adulthood. Domestic violence is a pattern of abusive and controlling behavior against one's intimate partner in a relationship. Young adults have experienced or been affected by domestic violence as either a victim or witness by the time they emerge into adulthood. Young people who have experienced this type of trauma have an increased risk for physical, mental health issues, alcohol, drug use, etc. In the case of Carly Hager, her boyfriend Ryan Cameron. They were celebrating a wedding. When they got home, Ryan started to berate her in front of their friends. When Carly tried to avoid the situation, Ryan brutally attacked her and locked his friends out. He proceeded to choke and bite her everywhere and ripped half her tongue out. There will be different topics when we talk about domestic violence incidents and clinical perspectives on victimology, psychology, forensic psychology of perpetrator, and legal and criminal justice implications. Hello, my name is Yasnal. I will be talking about the incidents and clinical perspective on victimology. What is abuse and how it starts? Abuse is when you treat someone with violence or cruelty. It can occur in various of forms: physically, sexually, mentally, and emotionally. Abuse can happen to anyone at any time. It usually has a negative effect on the victims. It usually happens between partners or family members. Domestic violence can overlap across a person's life course. It stems from childhood abuse and adolescent dating, which then connects to adult partner victimization. People who have faced victimization at a young age will likely face victimization over the years. It's usually done by people they love. Domestic violence can happen to anyone, male or female, at any age and any race. It's usually different types of abuse: physical, verbal, sexual, mental, and psychological. This can be due to many factors like stress, impulsive aggression, control, and strained bonds between loved ones. Most people don't mention or hide the fact that they are being abused. Or they choose to listen and trust their loved one until it's done again. Many victims are usually scared and fear for their lives. Women usually use intimate partner victimization, or known as IPV, to defend themselves or as an emotional response. Men usually use IPV when they are jealous and want to control their partner. Family can be a reason to why young adults face IPV. IPV usually stems from child abuse, especially from parents. Many people feel domestic violence has three types of relationship: child abuse, violent behavior. That's where violence starts. Ongoing risk, victimization, potential risk, it can happen in their life course of the future. And offending, intimate partner victimization, IPV, environment and setting can have an effect of IPV. Adolescent and young adults in the foster system are vulnerable to IPV. It's cause they're constantly moving and changing environments, which can disrupt many of the relationships they make, which is why they seek emancipation. Seeking emancipation from foster care can create a risk factor that lead to IPV, because they never had a stable environment or home. A risk factor of IPV is substance use, such as alcohol and drug. Many people who are abused usually go to substance abuse to cope with emotional, mental and psychological health. Many abusers are substance users, which can cause impairment of judgment and actions, which shows substance use usually has a connection to IPV. Low 2017 conducted a study to see how substance abuse is connected to males and females. They found for physical IPV was that out of 314 couples, 89 couples reported mutual IPV. 26 and 11 couples denoted only female or male IPV. For sexual IPV, 112 couples reported mutual association to IPV, while 12 and 46 couples denoted only male and female IPV. Low 2017. There are a number of detrimental outcomes that associated with domestic violence, like substance use, drugs and alcohol, mental health issues such as depression, anxiety and suicide ideation. It can cause dysfunctional relationship with partners. Many can engage in delinquent or criminal behaviors and can disrupt the idea of their self-identity due to abuser. Worst case scenario, it can result in injuries or even death.
Psychology, Forensic Psychology of Perpetrators by Tiffany Hernandez. Childhood Victimization and Young Adulthood Criminality. there are different types of childhood victimization such as physical harm, witnessing violence, exposure to community violence, peer-sibling victimization, sexual assault and property offenses such as robbery. Howell 2017 page 342. This link has been found according to Howell 2017 from previous research which suggests that some types of childhood abuse and neglect are related to an increased likelihood of perpetrating criminal behavior in adulthood. Page 341. Abuse and neglect during childhood are associated with mental health issues which can turn into aggressive behavior and criminal activity in adulthood if left untreated. Research suggests that victims of child abuse and neglect are more likely than non-victims to become one-time, recurring criminal offenders and are more likely to be arrested at an earlier age. The relationship between types of childhood victimization and young adulthood criminality. Study examined whether males, substance abuse, and psychopathy are associated with adult criminal behavior. All 2,244 participants between the ages of 20 to 24 experienced at least one form of childhood victimization. The most common form of childhood victimization among the participants was physical assaults. Male participants disclosed that they had a higher rate of criminality as young adults. Adult criminality was more associated with experiencing physical violence, witnessing violence, and neglect, whereas the other types of childhood victimization were not significantly associated with young adult criminality. Relationship continuity satisfaction among male domestic violence offenders. Why doesn't he leave? Relationship continuity and satisfaction among male domestic violence offenders. Study observed relationship continuity and satisfaction from the offending male's perspective. There were many factors associated with these offending males' relationship continuity, such as being older, married to the victim, having children together, childhood history of family violence, etc. Factors that influence relationship continuity and satisfaction. Demographic factors. Unemployment, poverty increase the probability that abused women will stay with their abusive partners. Relationship commitment. Children with their partner or married. Experiencing partner aggression. Aggression increase the chances of a woman leaving an abusive relationship. Family violence history. Men exposed to family violence have a higher chance of it negatively affecting relationship satisfaction. Attributions or attitudes, not as clear. Power imbalances. Men often use violence as a way of maintaining power and control over their partner. The age IPV curve. Changes in intimate partner violence perpetration during adolescence and young adulthood. This study researched intimate partner violence (IPV) and how it has evolved. Teen violence has become a risk factor for later adult experiences. However, research has not documented age-related patterns of IPV from adolescence into young adulthood. The study found that gender differences, such as socialization, can affect individuals during early childhood. It has been found that males partake in more risk-taking behaviors which include delinquency. These risk-taking behaviors can lead to male patterns of aggression which would only increase in severity as the male gets older. Patterns of aggression with substance abuse, alcohol misuse, mental health issues, environmental and biological factors can all affect IPV. Legal and criminal justice implications. By Jazia Findley. Introduction. In the upcoming slides, I will be highlighting key points from 3 interesting articles which explains the legal and criminal implications of domestic violence on individuals who are emerging adulthood. Battered women experiences of criminal justice system, decentering the law. Douglas, 2012. The age of individuals who participated in this study was not specified. This means that it could have been applicable to young adults between the ages of 20 to 24. According to Douglas, once someone can work the legal system, it does not matter if they're wrong or right, they automatically win. The study shows that women view the law as conceptually powerful, but not necessarily useful. They feel as though seeking assistance from the law increases danger. The law is biased towards male perpetrators because they can manipulate the legal process. Also, they have better community networks which they could rely on to help them navigate the legal processes. The article pointed out that heavy reliance on precedents when prosecuting domestic violence cases results in them ignoring the context of each case and leads to low-level penalties on perpetrators. Despite traumas associated with criminal prosecution, some women experienced positive effects. Namely, being connected to feminist organizations which help them to decenter the law and construct an alternative reality to the one presented by law. Narrow boundary prevents the law from interacting with other disciplines for a broad perspective on issues. The narrow definition also influences police that dismiss victims of domestic violence by only assessing physical harm. Dual arrest and other unintended consequences of mandatory arrest in New York City, a brief report. Fry, 2007. This study aimed to explore the unforeseen outcomes of the mandatory arrest policy. The goal of the policy was to create a standard response strategy for police when dealing with domestic violence, increase the number of arrests, as well as eliminate or minimize police discretion. Research proved that the unwanted consequences of mandatory arrests have a significant impact on the fight against domestic violence. When an advocate is involved, the victim's confidence increases with the criminal justice system and can minimize subsequent abuses. Fry mentioned that part of the solution for dual arrest is to mandate police to use domestic incident reports, which can identify the repeat offenders as the primary physical aggressors. Adding insult to injury, sex, sexual orientation, and juror decision-making in a case of intimate partner violence. Stanzani, A. Al. 2018. This case utilized individuals who were in their midlife. However, given the nature of the case, individuals who are emerging adulthood 20 to 24 can also be utilized. The primary aim of the current study was to examine the influence of sexual orientation on juror decision-making and perceptions of the defendant, victim, and crime. Study showed that jurors were more confident in their guilty verdict when dealing with a male defendant than when judging a female perpetrator. Jurors viewed male perpetrators as more morally responsible than female defendants only when a victim was female. The best way to help shift the perceptions and help victims in homosexual relationships is to advocate prosecutors to continue prosecuting cases of IPV among homosexuals, even when the verdicts may be skewed by juror perceptions. Society needs to be aware of the different perceptions related to sex and sexual orientation, as it affects how people view victims, defendants, and IPV cases. Such awareness can help people make conscious decisions to facilitate equal treatment of all victims.